How would you feel if you learned you had a twin brother living inside your brain? Crazy, right? Also, this twin brother is able to control a part of your brain and make you do things you would never do. Hey guys, this is Afraid, and you are watching Malignant. Let's get into it. It is late at night, and in the psychiatric hospital, there is a patient named Gabriel who is apparently endowed with supernatural powers. The doctors state that his physical strength is increasing, and they are not sure if they can hold him any longer. While Dr. Florence Weaver was on her way to check on Gabriel, another doctor was violently thrown from a room. Security wanted to shoot Gabriel with a tranquilizer, but the latter grabbed his hand and broke it. Florence took the weapon and fired at Gabriel and stopped him. When she entered the room, the doctors saw a massacre. All the doctors inside the room had been killed by Gabriel. At that point, Gabriel on the ground, wearing panda socks, was tied to a chair. Immediately, a strange creature began to emit demonic noises and through a radio, transmitted his thoughts. Gabriel told everyone in the room that he would kill them one by one. After that, Dr. Florence said that the tumor must be removed immediately. Many years pass, and here we are at the main character's house. The woman getting out of the Toyota Corolla is named Madison. Madison is a kind woman, married to Derek Mitchell. She had just arrived from work while her partner was watching TV. The two lived together, but Derek is an abusive guy that Madison had gotten pregnant with before. Unfortunately, none of the previous pregnancies went successfully. After an argument, Madison had a physical confrontation with her partner, during which the latter slams her head against the wall, despite the fact that she is pregnant again. Afterward, Derek had gone to get ice, but Madison closed the door and began to shake at the sight of the blood pouring out of her head. That night, Derek hears a loud noise in the kitchen, and after entering, he sees the fridge open by itself. Confused, he closed it, and immediately afterward, the TV had turned on. Apparently, Derek saw a woman sitting on the couch, but when he turned on the light, no one was there. Derek looked in the kitchen again, and a foreign figure popped up behind him and hit Derek's head hard. Suddenly, Madison woke up. Her head was still bleeding, and she went down to the living room, scared to death. Madison finds Derek's body on the floor, with his head completely twisted. After that, the creature that killed Derek began to follow Madison back to her room. Madison blocked the door, but with a forceful blow, the creature sent the door flying along with Madison, who hit her head hard on the floor. By 4 a.m., the police had arrived at the crime scene and were speechless when they saw Derek. In the meantime, Madison had been taken to the hospital, where her sister Sydney, with whom she had not spoken in a long time, had come to keep her company. In the hospital, Madison learns that Derek had been killed, and also that the little one in her stomach had not survived either. This traumatized Madison, and she did not eat or talk to anyone for 2 days. In the process, Madison becomes the prime suspect. Since no one had entered the house, Derek was abusive, so Madison may have gotten her revenge. Madison is discharged and returns home, deciding to stay by herself instead of living with Sydney. At night, after taking a shower, Madison notices outside her window a shadowy figure walking toward her house. At that point, feeling threatened, she closed the doors and windows, but noticed the back door open. She immediately closed it and began to look around in fear. After that, the door suddenly opened again. Terrified, she immediately ran to her room and locked herself inside. The next day, Madison began to barricade herself in the house, as if there was an apocalypse of zombies outside. In fact, Sydney couldn't open the door. At the same time, Madison was in her room, staring at the spot where she hit her head. She is interrupted by Sydney, who wants to enter through the window. Madison claimed that she was not Sydney's biological sister, and that she was adopted when she was 8 years old. Madison doesn't remember what had happened before. Madison's adoptive mother told her that her biological mother died during the birth, but the story is different. The following evening, a bizarre creature acts again. A woman named Beverly Woods makes a living organizing tour of the old underground city of Seattle. After the evening was over, she was about to go home, but suddenly she heard a noise in the darkness. The noise kept repeating itself, after which heavy footsteps could be heard running towards Beverly. With some difficulty, she managed to turn on the light, but saw no one. No one was in front of her, but the instant she raised her head, the creature with a monstrous face jumped on her. The next day, Beverly wakes up, tied up in an attic of a house. In the attic, there was also the creature that captured her. He was looking for some clothes, after which he started talking to Beverly through the radio. He told her that he had been waiting for this meeting for ages, after which he called Dr. Weaver on the phone. Do you remember Dr. Weaver from the beginning of the movie? The one who ordered Gabriel's tumor to be removed. Dr. Weaver at first didn't understand who she was talking to, but after looking at the files again, she realized that Gabriel was still alive. In the evening, Madison was doing laundry, and as she walked down the stairs, she saw a silhouette running in front of her eyes. As she put the laundry in the washer, on the left was the terrified Dr. Weaver screaming. The doctor said it was her house, while Madison claimed it was not. All of a sudden, Madison couldn't move anymore, and near her passed the creature that grabbed the doctor by the hair and hit her against the floor. After the blow, Madison seemingly teleports back to the doctor's house. In the meantime, the creature grabbed one of the doctor's trophies and hit her repeatedly. Madison, terrified, saw all this, after which she woke up in her house. It seemed to her that it was just a bad dream, but it really happened. In fact, the police were already in Dr. Weaver's house. In the house, Officer Kakoa Shaw found a picture of a girl, a former patient of Dr. Weaver, whose clinical case was particularly serious. In the meantime, the killer was turning the doctor's trophy into a lethal weapon. Madison hears the news and can't believe that the doctor is really dead and that she herself has seen death. She was in a lot of pain, shaking and flailing, and her sister Sydney tried to console her. Officers were reviewing all of Dr. Weaver's cases, having a lot of files to look at. Kakoa asked a colleague to find information about the girl in the picture. The following night, another doctor who worked with Dr. Weaver becomes a victim of Gabriel. After he goes to sleep, Madison wakes up next to him and is petrified. She screamed loudly, but Dr. Victor did not seem to hear. Gabriel pops up, and after stepping over Madison, he stands over Dr. Victor in a very bizarre position, like he was with his body in reverse. He pulled out the weapon he created and began to hit him severely. Madison saw Gabriel's face and woke up screaming. In the room comes Sydney, who notices that Madison's head was still bleeding. Madison and Sydney want to tell the officers handling the case the things Madison saw. The agents obviously do not believe Madison's words, but they quickly change their minds when they learn that in truth, what Madison saw in her sleep had actually happened. Once back in the police station, Madison became nauseous and went to the bathroom. The lights were starting to go out, and Maddie's phone began to ring. It was the killer. He talked to her about how Madison was always pretending that he doesn't exist, but in reality, he had always been in her head. Suddenly, Madison screamed his name, Gabriel. After that, they left together with Sydney. After that, Kakoa, thanks to the help of his coworker, learns that actually, the girl in the picture was Madison, and that she was a patient of Dr. Weaver. At this point, after Gabriel gets in touch with Madison, she asks her adoptive mother about him. After that, her mother showed footage of Madison from when she was younger. During the footage, Madison was talking to Gabriel, but the others did not see him. Kakoa also finds some material about Madison, but during the footage, the girl was called Emily. In the photos of Dr. Weaver's co-workers, there was also Dr. Gregory, who was still alive, but Kakoa realized that he was next. In fact, while Madison was brushing her teeth, suddenly, she no longer saw her reflection in the mirror, but Dr. Gregory's, after which she seemed to teleport into his bathroom. Along with her was Gabriel, who pulled out his lethal weapon. But Madison was not alone, because Agent Kakoa had already arrived at the doctor's house. Once he entered the bathroom, he found Dr. Gregory dead and full of blood in the tub. In the bathroom, there was also Madison, whose heart was about to burst, but Kakoa didn't see her. From behind the officer popped Gabriel, who jumped on him. He wanted to kill him, but Kakoa managed to defend himself and started to follow him, until he arrived in an abandoned cellar. Once again, Gabriel surprised him and began to attack him. Gabriel pushed the officer to the ground and ran away. The next day, Kakoa questioned Madison, as she had met in the past with the victims. Unfortunately, Madison couldn't remember anything, so the police pushed Madison to be hypnotized by a psychotherapist. From this, something very negative emerges from the past, including an episode where Madison was about to kill her adoptive mother while she was pregnant with Sydney. Gabriel convinced Madison that if she would cut her mother a piece of cake, it would be a nice surprise. But the moment Madison picked up the knife and approached the cake, she suddenly appeared in the parents' room with the knife towards his adoptive mother. Because of Madison's uncontrolled screaming and critical situation, the psychotherapist had to stop everything. While the police are in Madison's house, the woman kidnapped by Gabriel manages to free herself. The latter was a prisoner right in Madison's cellar. At this point, Madison is picked up by the police. In Madison's attic, the police found Gabriel's weapon and the clothes he was wearing. Later, while the two officers were unsuccessfully interrogating Madison, Kakoa received a phone call from Gabriel, who was annoyed that the police had taken his weapon and clothes. Afterward, Madison is still locked up behind bars until the officers make a decision. All this time, Sydney was driving to the psychiatric hospital where Madison was as a child. Upon arriving there, she found the tape of Madison's recordings. We learned that Madison's mother had the pregnancy at a very young age. Since her mother would not help her, Serena, Madison's mother, left the child with a very rare diagnosis to Dr. Weaver. In the following recording, Emily, or Madison, was talking about Gabriel. She said that he was ordering her what to do and telling her to do nothing but harm. In the following images, the doctor showed Gabriel, who is actually a form of Madison's underdeveloped twin brother. They can't both control one brain at the same time, so one has to dominate over the other. At this time, it was Gabriel who controlled everything. Since Gabriel had access to a part of Madison's brain, he was able to make her see images or dreams. In the process, Madison begins to be taunted and bullied inside the prison. She is knocked down and beaten up, but the moment the bully touched the part of the head where Gabriel was, Madison was no longer Madison. All this time, Gabriel, the parasite, convinced Madison that she was living a normal life, but he was actually controlling her body when he needed to. Since Gabriel showed characteristics of extreme aggression, super strength, and even psychic powers that allowed him to condition electronic devices, doctors physically separated him from Madison, but left a piece of Gabriel's brain in Madison's skull. That's why in the prison, Gabriel, who was still alive, his head began to come out. Once out, Gabriel took control of Madison's body and began to hit and kill all the imprisoned people. After freeing himself from prison, Gabriel began searching the storage room for his clothes and his weapon. In the meantime, the two officers were looking for Gabriel himself, who was in the police station. He was continuing to kill, this time the other officers. The two officers reached Gabriel. Kakoa pointed the gun at him, but immediately recognized Madison's face that was with the body upside down. While Madison seemingly wakes up in the cell with all the dead police officers next to her, she was actually somewhere else entirely. After throwing a chair at the two officers, Gabriel made his way to the hospital where his mother was. In the meantime, it still seemed to Madison that he was in the cell, but he saw everything as a dream. Sydney was supposed to talk to Madison's biological mother, but she arrived at the same time that Gabriel arrived, and there was a confrontation between the two. But he is interrupted by his mother, Serena. Soon after, Kakoa also arrives and fires 2 shots at Gabriel, but is severely hit by his lethal weapon. After that, Gabriel also attacks Sydney, who manages to talk to Madison. Sydney reveals to her that Gabriel was feeding on her babies while she was pregnant. That's why she couldn't give birth. After that, Gabriel apparently shot Sydney and killed his own mother. In reality, Madison manages to subvert the roles, and after showing Gabriel visions that do not correspond to reality, she locks the evil twin in a prison in her own mind, intimating that she has now figured out how to deal with him and that she would not let him off the hook the next time. As a result of this experience, Madison feels ready to form close relationships with her family. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then find out why a mother wanted to steal her own daughter's heart.